That's what I code. So we all have financial goals. We all want to make money, get out of debt, and live a life where we actually have a peace of mind. But for most of us, that's far-fetched, that's completely out of reach, and that's a shame because the only thing that stands between you and the life that you want are these 7 simple steps. These 7 steps are straight out of Dave Ramsey's book, Total Money Makeover, and I'll link that in the description for those of you who will really want to better your financial future. And by the way, these are called baby steps, but you'll figure out why later. So, baby step number 1, save $1,000 for your starter emergency fund. So this is what I call the Life Happens Fund, and this is exactly what Dave Ramsey's talking about when he recommends saving $1,000 as your first milestone. These are for those unexpected inconveniences that could happen at any given time during your financial journey, such as car repairs, flat tire, home repairs, medical expenses, etc. And look, saving the first $1,000 can be very difficult, especially if you work minimum wage or if you just have a ton of bills every single month. So what I'm about to do is I'm going to give you some game-changing tips right here, right now. So first of all, automate your savings. You can set up your bank account to automatically send a portion of every single paycheck that you make to go to your savings account. Or you can use apps like Qapital, and your bank account will automatically send money over to Qapital, and you'll have a bunch of different savings accounts within the big app of Qapital, just so you can have your money diversified and separate from one another. And for those of you who are curious about Qapital, I'll link it down in the description for you guys, and if you do decide to download it, you'll get a free $5 upon you making your first deposit. Second, cut unnecessary bills. Some of us have monthly subscriptions that just aren't even necessary. And this is in the form of magazines that we don't read. This is in the form of streaming services and channels that we don't even watch. Even music and other forms of entertainment that we just straight up don't even use. So with that said, what I would recommend cutting is stuff like cable, magazine subscriptions, and just anything that you're not using anymore, but you know for a fact you're still paying for every single month. And you'll find that once you cut a few unnecessary bills, that little bit of money per bill that you save is going to add up. Tip number 3, stop eating out. Like literally, you would save so much money doing this. Like seriously, just cook at home. That's all you gotta do. Tip number 4, track your expenses and just look at some of the BS that you spend your money on, and then be honest with yourself. And once you come to a conclusion about what is BS and what is not, simply cut those out of your spending habits. And then continue to track what you're doing and continue to make adjustments. Continue to spot stuff that does not need to be spending your money on. And 5, pick up a side hustle. The quicker you make that $1,000, the better. Side hustles can pay very well. But I won't get too much into that. If you want more tips on how to make more money quicker or how to save money on minimum wage, just check out my video that's specifically about how to save money with a low income. And I'll have it up here and linked in the description as well. Baby step number 2, pay off all of your debt except for your house, if you have a house. So most of us are in debt with no hopes of getting out of debt anytime soon. That said, here's your free get out of debt plan. And what Dave Ramsey recommends is to use a snowball method to get out of debt. This is where you completely ignore the interest rate, and you put your debt in order from smallest to largest, and you pay off that debt in that exact order. That said, you'll pay the minimum payment on every single debt bill, so to speak, that you have. And the smallest amount of debt that you're in, that's where you'll throw any of your extra money that you make. So just imagine having a $25 minimum payment on all of your debt bills combined, but then your smallest one you throw more money at. And just to be clear, we're talking about paying off cars, credit cards, and student loans. That's the types of debt that I'm talking about. And if you're wondering, what if I don't have extra money? Well, that's where you apply what I've just talked about in baby step number 1. And once you gain the extra money from those 5 tips that I just gave you in baby step number 1, you'll have what Dave Ramsey calls found money. Think about this. Everyone says, I need a raise. Everyone says, if only I made more money. But the truth is, if we just manage our money better, we'd be able to accomplish a lot more. Here's some knowledge for you. If you can't handle $40,000, you definitely won't be able to handle $400,000. But yes, that's the snowball method that Dave Ramsey recommends, because psychologically it's the most powerful form of getting out of debt when compared to other methods. But if you don't like the snowball method, I recommend the avalanche method. Similar to the snowball, this is where you pay the minimum payment on every single debt bill that you have. But this time you throw all your extra money at the debt bill that has the highest interest rate. And in most cases, this would be credit card debt that has the highest interest rate. If not, you would choose whatever student loan has the higher interest rate of the other ones. And honestly, the avalanche method makes the most mathematical sense and can actually save you thousands in the long run. Baby step number 3, save 3 to 6 months worth of expenses in your emergency fund. Now, the way that Dave Ramsey sets this up is that you've got your debt paid off, and so now you're saving 3 to 6 months worth of your expenses. So theoretically speaking, with debt paid off, you now have extra money to put within your savings account, your emergency fund, which in that case, you should be able to build it up pretty quick. But here's the thing about any process that has steps. You do not always have to follow the exact order that the steps go in, and here's why. There's one caveat that I have that is communicated throughout this entire channel. I recommend building up this emergency fund while you're paying off debt. Why? Because when I was out on my own for the first time in the real world, I was aggressively, and I mean aggressively, paying off my debt. And then a horrifying thought came to my mind. What if I get fired? What if the company fails? What if I get laid off? What if I get furloughed? And what that horrifying thought did was it put me in a visual scenario where I had all my debt paid off and absolutely nothing to show for it. If you pay off all of your debt, but then you lose your job, then congratulations, you have zero debt, but you also have zero cash flow. That's not good. So if you have zero debt and zero cash flow and hardly anything in your savings besides that $1,000 that we saved at the very beginning in step number 1, $1,000 ain't gonna get you very far. You see what I'm saying? But so you have the clearest decision, and so you can get even more guidance on that. I have an entire video about should you pay off debt or should you save money, because that has even more in-depth scenarios where sometimes it makes more sense to pay off debt, or it might make more sense to save money. But check out the video and find out for yourself. Baby step number 4, invest 15% of your household income into your 401k. This is a baby step that can have a huge impact on your future in a very positive way. And this is something that never really stops until you retire. And the thing about this baby step is, I want to point out that this is mainly geared towards people who work a job. Realistically speaking though, some people are self-employed, some people are business owners. Therefore, everyone isn't going to have a 401k. In that case, instead of investing in a 401k, it would be in the form of a Roth IRA or something similar. Either way, investing 15% of your household income into any form of investment at all, whether it's 401k, Roth IRA, index funds, that can have a substantial impact. 15% of your household income can have a huge impact, because we're not just talking about you and just your income. We're talking about your household income. So if it's not just you, if it's you and your spouse, however much that household income is, if you're able to save, if you're able to invest 15% of that and invest it, I'm just saying that the impact that it has on your future is just nasty. It's cold. And that brings us to baby step number 5, which is definitely a step where most people straight up just don't make it to. So you know that if you make it to baby step number 5, that you can consider yourself financially successful. This is where you save for your children's college fund. And look at this. Even if you don't save up enough to pay for their entire schooling, especially if they go to a really expensive school and you have multiple kids and you want to save the same amount for each kid, then that's understandable. But guess what? Either way, it's going to soften the blow for the amount that they have to pay back once they graduate from college. The idea is that the generations after you don't have to go through what you had to go through, that they don't have to struggle like you've had to struggle. That's literally the motivation behind every single thing that I do. It's so that the generations after me, that my future family has an easier life. And honestly, that mindset should be projected from a generational standpoint. With every generation, that should be the goal for the next generation. Do you see what I'm saying? Baby step number 6, pay off your home early. This one is definitely controversial. First of all, some of you may or may not want to even own a home. And second, paying off your home early can definitely hurt you later on in terms of taxes. And if I'm honest, this step is mainly for peace of mind. You know that as an adult, one thing that you're not going to have to worry about is losing your house because it's completely paid off. No matter if your job fires you or lays you off, or if the business just completely turns upside freaking down, you know that your house is 100% paid for and it's 100% yours, and no one can do anything about that. And what I would say here is, if you want that peace of mind that I just talked about, go for it. But if it makes more monetary sense for you to wait until your house is paid off and to invest with that extra money in something else like index funds, ETFs, insert investment here, maybe even a side business, well, then that makes more financial sense for you. Then do that. So take this time now to think about which one would benefit you more. Which one would you rather have? Which one would make you and your family happier? And that leads us to baby step number 7. This is definitely the best one, and it's actually very simple. Continue to build wealth by doing all the baby steps that we just talked about, but also give. And here's some examples. Oprah Winfrey, Ellen DeGeneres, they give out stuff like cars, kitchenware, cookware, all kinds of stuff. YouTubers like Mr. Beast, they give away houses. They give away all kinds of stuff. iPods, iPads, iPhones, all kinds of stuff. Just because they can. And guys, that's just what baby step number 7 looks like as a whole. It looks like just generously giving stuff that most people think to be as expensive, but to you, since you've mastered your money and since you've figured out how things are supposed to go in terms of your finances, now things that are expensive to most people is like pocket change to you. And that's not to brag on your part, but it's just to give, just to add value to the world. This stuff is biblical. And keep in mind, like I said, building wealth is going to be repeating the steps that we just talked about. So as your wealth continues to build, as more money hits your bank account, guess what? Your emergency fund continues to grow. It's no more 3 to 6 months. It's more like 12 to 18 months. Now it's 24 months. Now it's 48 months. And we just keep going and going and going until you have ridiculous amounts of money and you're just extremely, extremely comfortable and confident within your finances as a whole. So your emergency fund increases, but so do your investments. So does your college fund for your kids. Don't want kids, don't have kids. What about nieces and nephews? What about, your friends' kids? I mean, think outside of the box. You don't have to follow this to a T. Make it your own. That's what I did. Just keep in mind, although you're making all this your own, all of these have to work in harmony with one another so that you can get the financial future that you've always wanted. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. My name is Reggie Bryant. This channel is all about personal finance and personal growth so that you can control your finances, and control your life. If you like this video, subscribe, hit the like button, share this with a friend, share this on social media. Do what you gotta do. Just get this out to other people. It really helps my channel grow. My channel has been growing like crazy lately, and I thank every single one of you. With that said, I will see you in the next video. Stay cold.